Okay. For those of you that are in here, the rest of you will be back. Again, this is a real heavy focus primarily on customer service, primarily on the stamp accountability issues. This is not my PowerPoint presentation, but I've sat through it, I helped build it. I'm gonna have to kind of stumble through some of the slides. For those of you who don't know, I moved from manager customer service to what my official title is, with my planner.
Easy for you, He's retired.
Supply chain planner. I never have to use it, so I don't. What we do, among other things, is, and you've probably seen it already, you know how you get all your ready post items? They're no longer from Hallmark, they're not coming from Victory, but we replenish automatically. We took over the replenishment of your retail product, your ready post items. And the ready post items were previously handled entirely by Hallmark. And if you're like everybody else was that I've ever talked to, you wonder why you're getting 10 boxes of padded envelopes. Well, you never sell padded envelopes. We took that over, we fixed a lot of that, but headquarters had an influence on us that kind of impacted that the wrong way, and it kind of went back a little bit. We're still in the process of fixing it, but it's better now than it was. If it's not, call me. One of the things they want us to do from that point forward, we're going to plan all stamps. What we do is we have access to your PAWS transactions, what you sell in stamps by item number. We have access to your balance on hand, and we compare the two and say when you need stamps. We try to keep 7 weeks of inventory as a safety stock. So you've always got 7 weeks, because of the transition from the time the order is placed until the time you get it could take as many as 4, 5, 6 weeks. So that's what we're going to do. We've already started in Portland, and in Portland, you don't order stamps. The only way you can order stamps, and the only way you guys will be able to order stamps, is by emergency order. It has to be an emergency order. And we will be scrutinizing the emergency orders too, to make sure you're not just ordering all the time whatever you want. When we evaluate what your usage is and what your stock is, that's when we'll send you stuff. It's done on what we call min-max. You don't really need to know what the min-max is, except in summary, it's when you hit this level, your minimum, we send you this number, the maximum. It's really that simple. We've got to round it off either to full sheets of stamps or full bricks, depending on how big a product you need. Let me just kind of go through this. This is the basic presentation to acclimate everybody. Those of you that are going to be going on, nobody here is going on it yet. Those in Portland have already sat through this presentation. This gives an idea of what's going on with that. It tells you what SEAM is, how are the offices chosen, and let's just kind of walk through this. We actually started this on April 29th in the Portland SCC that took on 4 districts. We continue to go on through May with the evaluation of the pilot. In June, we're going to evaluate what's been going on. And originally the plan was on July 15th, we're going to go with total nationwide. We've decided that's not the best plan. Probably what we're going to do is filter it out pieces at a time, maybe 3 or 4 weeks in between. The next likely one is going to be Phoenix, and then Dulles, and then from that point it's probably going to be possibly Kansas City, which is what most of you guys are going to be getting all your stock out of. SEAM, have you guys all heard of SEAM?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it is. This is for Enterprise Asset Management. What it does is give us an actual picture of what's going on with regards to ready post, expedited product services, our supplies, and stamps. It improves the tracking, gives us the opportunity to look at what's going on and forecast what your needs are. What we use to do that is primarily this PAWS. That's, if you're not a PAWS office, you won't be a planned office. EVI 2 is where the stamp ordering takes place. And my post office is where you get notified of when you need to do audits, which is for your primarily UPS products and things like that. By doing this, by this planning, our goal is to reduce stamp destruction. Right now, you get what you get, and what you don't sell, you just let it sit where it is, and then we just destroy it whether you want it or not. We're going to be able to evaluate what your usage is and hopefully that'll stop that down, and it will optimize inventory levels. One of the big advantages of this, right now, every one of you that has stock is worried that you're going to exceed your accountability. When we take over this entirely, because we're responsible for all your stock, your accountability is no longer your problem. It's our problem. So that will help a little bit, but it's going to be uncomfortable for you to start with because you've got the mindset that accountability can't be exceeded. In all likelihood, your accountability levels will drop because we're going to be replenishing, we're going to be evaluating your situation weekly. Again, you must be a PAWS office in order for us to demonstrate what your time frame, or excuse me, what your usage is. We have to have at least a year's history. You get a list, there's links, all this will work. This presentation is available on the blue page, by the way, or I can give it to anybody that wants to go through it and review it. It's difficult to do by yourself because it requires a lot of explanation. Right now, there's a link on the SDC page that'll take you to this. You simply have to put in your 10-digit finance number, click on search, and it'll give all this information to you about your office. If you click on this, that's your Fed strip number, it'll tell you what your automatic distributions are. All that's available to you right now, no matter where you're at. So if you're wondering how many of whatever kind of stamp you've got, this will tell you that in this one, your Love Florida or Floridia, whatever that's called, this office is going to get 3,200 of those. And the first day of issues is 4/3. That information's there for you already. Again, that's the pilot site with the 4 districts that, so that you can see what's going on there. Here's how we broke it down, and if for all intents and purposes, it's nothing more than the PAWS offices. Total 846 offices that we're doing in Portland. All offices will continue to receive their automatic distributions for most commemorative, special issues, and holiday stamps. There's a lot of discussion always about the automatic distribution and why did I get this many? I will never sell those. It's a mandate at this time from headquarters that every office will have every stamp. So we go back and try to figure out, make a comparison between this new stamp and a similar stamp. What's the right amount for your office? And that's how we determine what your automatics are, what you sold in the time frame of the life of that stamp. What we send you is what you've demonstrated for 45 days of sales on a similar stamp. That's why your automatic distribution works the way it does. Corey works with me at planning, so if you want to throw somebody in the bus like I am. But Corey can correct me as we move along if I'm missing something or mistaking something, so please do, Corey. It's determined by 45 days of a similar stamp and by the level of marketing. There are things like Cherry Blossom that had a lot of marketing, so they promoted more, we sold more in spite of their comparative stamp. Those are some of the things we do. Now what we do is we recommend, we've got a separate little group that evaluates a stamp's likelihood of marketability, and we recommend to headquarters. And they look at our recommendation and then want it up, throw it away, and do what they want to do. But that's the way it's supposed to work. How it works. PRUs sell stamps and make inventory adjustments. When you sell something in PAWS, if you use the item number, it will automatically deduct that from your balance on your floor stock. PAWS transmissions transactions are transmitted every morning to SEAM, and when SEAM goes in and looks weekly at what your transactions were, what remains on hand, and what your history is, your forecast, then it decides how much you need of that item. So as long as you're doing everything and recording the sales properly, then it should reflect accurately. We bring you down to a minimum so that we keep you never run out. We assume 4 to 7 weeks of transition time, and we refill you to that point.
Can we ask questions? As
Sure, please do.
Okay, so you have businesses that come in for certain items only at certain times throughout that time. I don't have my 2,000 envelopes because I don't sell 2,000 envelopes over a period of time, but I have a company that comes in for 2,000 envelopes. What happens?
You can order, everybody hear the question?
Because now I know that they come in and they come to the window and I issue it to the window and then I sell it right then while the customer is there.
When you demonstrate sales, we look at what your sales are over this period of time and we replenish you so that you have enough stock to sell. But it's divided out over a period of time.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So that's the way you'll be replenished. But if you know things are coming in, you can put in an emergency order.
Yeah, but
As it is right now, you can only put in one emergency order for 21 days for 3 items. That won't be the case. You can put in an emergency order today and tomorrow.
But now I've turned my customer away today. And
But
told
you
them
didn't-
to come back tomorrow.
You can
Or
order.
next day or whenever the hell somebody can get it to me.
Okay. Right now, the reason you have it to sell them is because you ordered it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so order it. If I haven't replenished enough to you, go ahead and order the 2,000 envelopes. Now you've got them. You
Oh, I
can
see
order
what you're
them.
saying.
You
Okay.
can order them as an
Okay,
emergency
all
order.
right, okay.
You don't have to wait for me.
Okay, oh, all right. That was my point. Huh?
Okay,
Go ahead.
you know, on the automatic shipments, you know, for the new stamps and stuff like that, when I first came to Monticello, because it's called a postal store, even though it's really not, well, it was so high, I couldn't even order regular stamps, so I went to this SDN and said, cut them way down to here, I'll order.
For your automatics, you mean?
Yeah, so are you gonna go in and adjust them again? Because then I've got them down to where, I mean, I know what we're gonna sell through, and then I order what I think I'm gonna need, because if you bump those up, I'm in, you know, Monticello's in an up and growing area, but commemoratives as a rule, for whatever reason, just because of where we are. At Blue Springs, we sold 1,000, hundreds, and, you know, but at where I'm at now, they don't, and they readjust those auto shipments. I'm sitting on stamps again.
We're not going to adjust the auto
Okay.
shipments. They're going to remain where they are.
Okay.
But something I'll tell you that we all do as retail managers or supervisors or our clerks do, if you've got stamps that you can't sell,
I make them sell.
and what's one of the ways you do that?
Don't let them give anything else.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of a problem. And the other way you get rid of them is you slap them on packages.
Yeah, we do that.
When you do that, you know what you just did? You created a demand for that stamp. I'm going
Yeah,
to send
that's
you
why I
one.
don't like to do it.
Now, with definitives, what's recommended in order to get the accurate picture out is don't sell them, let them sit. One of the things we're going to be doing as this program progresses is evaluating your stamps that don't move. We're taking them away from you. We're redistributing them to areas that do use them. With regards to commemoratives, back right here, it's based on 45 days of estimated sales. As long as you have a stamp, if you've got a stamp a commemorative that you know it's not going to sell and it won't sell, don't slap them on a package right away, just get rid of it. Wait 45 days. Because the life of a commemorative has been demonstrated is 150 days. After 45 days, we no longer replenish.
Good, okay,
So wait 45 days, slap on a package, you okay, we will not replenish them.
good enough.
Any other questions? So let's see where we are here. See, we'll fulfill both planned and non-planned orders transparently. Well, and I'm gonna have to clarify that, but offices that are not planned, they're not paused, we don't plan for those offices. If they're not paused, we don't plan for them because we can't get a picture of what's going on. If you do e-moves and like that, all that comes through for record keeping purposes is just 090. All you've got is just stamp sales. It doesn't break it down to items. So we don't plan for those offices. Those offices still order everything they want. Those are the 2 of the 4 and 6 hour offices.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the APO, so they're still going to order their own stock as
Yes.
far as you're concerned
Yes.
and headquarters concerned. Those individual RMPOs are going to order their own stock.
Yes.
Okay.
And the next
That
question
way
is,
the APO doesn't get all gaffed up, right?
that was the
Okay.
next question. Most
That's
people
what I
assume
was
that the APO is going to administer the stock for the
Well,
RMPO.
some districts thought that and that's what they were going to try and roll out. And first we were kind of like, no, you probably don't want to do that, but
It's still in discussion as to what exactly the RMPOs, remotely managed post offices, in case you don't know what that is. Those are the 2 hour, 4 hour, 6 hour offices. It's still a matter of discussion as to what they're actually going to stock.
okay.
Right now, a 2 hour office, correct me if I'm wrong, Corey, a 2 hour office gets 1 sheet of commemoratives on the automatic distribution. 4-hour office gets 2 sheets, and then the section above it just goes on to whatever.
Okay.
But there's also talk about only stocking a forever flag stamp sheet, a forever coil, a postcard coil, a coil of, well, just a minimum, a bare minimum forevers, and just, that's all they're gonna have. There's also talk of only allowing those small offices to do postage meter, no stamps at all.
Who's doing the decision making on that?
Headquarters.
Okay. Thank you.
And I know for a fact that on the East Coast, they have ordered huge numbers of postage meters.
Really?
And with because their theory is we're gonna go to all postage meters. So, but that's still on the table, but right now, what I just described to you with the 1 sheet, 2 sheet, that kind of thing, and a sample of every stamp in every office, everywhere.
Well, that's not so bad, because like our idea has gone to just having postcard stamp, postcard coil, the forever and the forever coil. They don't have anything else.
They're not really a post office.
Yeah, but it would be the same thing, like a 2-hour office and that same.
No, we don't want that.
Well, it's not like we have any control. At headquarters, they're making all those decisions, so.
I mean, you got people in that town that, you know, want the stamps and.
Yes, they do. But the argument about that, if they don't get the opportunity, I've got to drive 10 miles up the road to get me a Purple Heart stamp, because if that's what I want. How far do you have to drive to get to your post office? Well, I have to drive about 7 or 8 miles to get to mine. These people are spoiled with having one right there, so when they have to drive the same distance as you do to get to where you're going, you know, is it really a hardship if you really want a Purple Heart? I don't know. That's the philosophy they're using.
Of course it is, because they're not talking to rural America.
That's right. They're not talking to the people.
Happy juice.
The
haven't stepped in a post office in years.
the clock will start in transit time. That's really nothing that applies to you. You'll be getting an ASN, automatic shipping notification, through by post office, and you'll have to mark down when you receive that. That's a way of us monitoring. Unlike Ready Post, where all you have to do is scan it in and it automatically fills in the pause, that won't work for this. You'll have to enter it individually like you always have for stamps.
Really?
Sometimes.
Well, you've always had to do that.
Just put it in pause.
Well, you're supposed to be helping us.
Oh, okay, we'll put it in.
One step at a time.
You're supposed to be helping us, man. That's what you're telling us, right?
Well, the problem, and the reason why it's not doing it, it's my perspective, these are accountable. You're accountable. Do you want to trust my county?
No.
Hell no.
Okay. Point taken.
No wonder her picked on you for trying out.
So is this going to eliminate the reconciliation in eBay then?
No. No, because the reconciliation in eBay.
Uh-huh. We have to reconcile the stop order in eBay as well.
That's a pain in the neck.
You're not ordering it. You're not ordering it.
That's what I asked.
Okay.
Just emergency order.
Yeah, rock on.
I'm glad we invited Corey.
Yeah.
PTS will receive shipment notification. PTS is product tracking system, which is what you put in the tracking and hit enter and it tells you where it's at, what's happening to it. Postal retail unit receives shipment. You scan the signature confirmation barcode. Every shipment will have a unique shipment number, and you must enter, as we just talked about, the correct number into pause.
Larry, explain that as you did last night, as we talked about this.
Oh. Pause. Well, actually, it's in the presentation as we move along. Oh, we're going to have to quit for ice cream here in a minute.
Oh, wow.
Real briefly, and let it soak in. We'll talk about it tomorrow or later when Mary gets here, because that's the point that Mary wanted to make. You have to sell stamps by the correct item number. Absolutely have to. As an example, at the main office in Peter, where I was the manager, we sold a lot of the large 10,000 coils, 5-cent stamps. So we sell those out. Well, at the time, we were breaking coils. So instead of wanting 10 coils of 10,000 and selling 100,000, they wanted 97,240 stamps. So we'd roll those off. So we sell the coils one at a time until we got to that, and then we sold them 7,240 stamps. We got to record that somewhere. So we put it down as 5-cent stamps, not a 10,000 coil. So now, instead of reducing the quantity of all the large coils, what we've done is we're off by 1 coil because we opened one and sold it, and we sold 9,000 more stamps than we had, 5-cent stamps. What that tells Paws is, you need 5-cent stamps. You just now sold more than you have. We're gonna send you 10,000 5-cent stamps.
Actually, this is really good information, actually should be starting to roll out to get everybody.
That's why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
We'll probably pick this up tomorrow, or maybe more when Mary gets here, depending on how she wants to move forward. But that's exactly what I thought. We went through this discussion, I talked to 2 or 3 people, and it's one thing putting this thing out and doing a no response class over the internet net meeting. When you talk to people, it clicks. But when you don't talk to them, and all you do is present it, they don't have any idea, and they call us, and they're mad, and they send us scathing emails. And when you talk to them, oh, okay. And everybody denies selling something under the wrong number until you got them on the phone.
Well, that whole thing is actually really significant, because we know that it's still happening.
Oh,
Whether
absolutely.
by mistake or by intent, it's happening.
Corey.
Just a quick reminder, everybody knows on Ready Post, if you go to negative balance and we should get a thing saying county. You can do it individual, stamps you can. So when I have an office that's getting 25,000 neon celebrates they don't need because somebody was too lazy, you guys know when you do your counts every quarter, you can see when you have those offsetting things.
Right.
Somebody didn't sell that much, but you got the same 46-cent value. You can see they match up dollar-wise.
Well, odds are everybody has a clerk that sells something by the wrong number.
Now, you're gonna get 25,000 neon celebrations because you ran it. I got an office I'm working on now that does that in Portland because they were too lazy. They just ran up in the same thing.
Every commemorative got sold as a celebrate.
And it's really good. Sam, guess what you gotta do? You gotta count the whole thing. So if there's gonna be offices that have these too many one centers, if your clerks are doing it right now, stop. And if your next count, you'll be clean as soon as you start again. If that happens, you're gonna be counting your whole stock when one of your clerks is ran into that one number. So kind of a preemptive, that's the only way we know. We can't fix that one. We can't fix that one item.
Somebody else on the barcodes?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
They, exactly, but, okay, and they sometimes say, oh, we got this book, you only want half, we sell half the book, because we're friendly.
There are some like,
If you don't ring up correctly, you will be stuck with.
there are some that are a book that sell for $9.60, but clerks will sell one stamp.
That's right.
Well, but like at Christmas time, you run out, you can't get an order in, so you call your buddy, you go give them 200 books of Forever, and they give you 200
Yeah,
Oh,
books
and you
for
think it's all
$1.
okay, but
One other thing is sometimes they get old stamps that go off sale, they're doing their thing, they're trying to get rid of them, right? Well, you can't ring it up anymore, so you ring it up under your 1 center or neon celebrate, because you're doing the post office favor. Don't do it, tell them right now, because guess what? You will be counting their report, we have no choice, if you're in, not every office, but unique, that's probably what's gonna happen.
so there's some other things that we're finding. Let's write these questions down, because everybody wants to hear
Well,
them.
just so when we get ready to go online, we'll probably need to count our stock, our inventory, and make sure it's correct.
No, that's not a requirement that we're having right now.
Really?
Because it's not,
I would think that we would.
but we haven't implemented that yet. So I don't know. I don't know that that's happening. That's not something we've done. Because it's not all your stamp stock that's off, it's only 1 or 2, and when that order comes through, it'll show up as an exception that Corey and I look at every Monday, and we'll call you up and say, what's going on. And we can fix it so you're not getting the order until your next scheduled audit, so not everybody has to go out and do all the audits.
One last thing before break, a perfect world, we give you a return cycle before we do this and let you all count it. Headquarters gets happy, they like to just get these new things out and check off the list and look what I did, so. It may not happen, we know that because we've been in the field, but that doesn't mean it's gonna happen, so we're trying to tell you now before it happens. Tell your clerks or whoever it is, quit ringing under the wrong number, and most of you guys know when you do your counts, you know how it's off, and it's offsetting the same value.
Every time you do an audit, I guarantee you find something that doesn't match. You may not have negative numbers, but you've got things that you've got 2,000 of and you only count 1,000, or something like that. It doesn't match, because that's the way you find out how your audit's off. You see, you count, you see that you're $1,000 off, you go find something that's 1,000 pieces, and that's where your error is. That's how you track it down.
Well, you don't need to call me, just call my input, he has all the info.
Let's take a break, get the ice cream before it melts. We probably won't come right back to this, so if you have questions, ponder what we've talked about. We will continue this either later on or tomorrow morning.
Okay, Edward, now you understand what I'm saying? If $40, that's why I have to look.
I think my clerks, they're on 15 stamps in this county, they've sold under it. 15.
You're never off. You're never off like having to do
Oh,
audits.
I know I'm off, but not by thousands of stamps.
no.
20,
Well-
30 stamps, that's not bad.
No, but one of the advantages of this, we're gonna be able to keep an accurate receipt of inventory as you receive it through the ASNs, the advanced shipping notices that you'll see in your My Post Office. You'll be able to follow emergency order guidelines. Eventually, like I said, we're gonna identify and remove obsolete inventory. We do that by tracking your usage, and when we see things that have built up and haven't sold for a long time, we're gonna work with local either scene coordinators or people in the district to see if we can reallocate within a decent range. It's gonna do some more of the inter-office transfers that are free, that are currently not the most popular thing in the world, but it's probably gonna have to happen. Continue to monitor overall usage. Let's see. This is an example of what I was talking about. When you sell something by the wrong item number, here's what happens when it's done correctly. You sell a coil of 100, the item number is 788700. When you sell it, your inventory of that item number decreases. The 1 cent stamps doesn't change at all because you didn't sell it with 1 cent stamps. So now the office will receive replenishment for one coil that they sold. If, however, and this does happen, if you took that sale of that coil and instead of selling it as 17887, instead you sold it as 4600 1 cent stamps, you just showed a demand for 4600 1 cent stamps, and we're going to send you 4600 1 cent stamps when all you sold was a coil. That's why it's that important that you put the actual item number down when you sell it. Is that clear as mud to everybody? If you ponder it, you'll see how it happens. It happens a lot in Ready Post right now. We get huge numbers of negative inventory. How do you get to it? How do you sell something you don't have? You bring it up as the wrong number.
So now the coils, just being, not being customer service, do you, on your coil stamps, do you have a barcode that they just,
Yes.
the clerk just brings up?
Yep.
Oh, that's too
Put it
easy.
in the
They
correct
can.
thing?
They can. Yeah, they can just scan the barcode right on the coil.
That's what I'd be doing.
Oh, yeah.
You scratch your head as to why this happens, but it definitely happens.
Yep, it does.
And like I said, it does happen in the situation that I gave you before break, where you're breaking large coils like that, like we used to do at the Beacon. At least you can rationalize it. Why you do it on individual stamps, we don't know. PRUs are still responsible for maintaining adequate inventory. You do that by, if our replenishment doesn't meet your needs, you can place emergency orders. Emergency orders, once this is implemented, will not be limited to the one every 21 days. You'll be able to do the emergency orders when you need them. And hopefully we're going to be able to arrange for the return of all sale items in a very timely manner, so you won't be sitting on those. Initially, because of the way SEAM works, accountability may increase slightly, but hopefully everything is going to work out right so that the accountability issues are not going to be yours, they're going to be ours, because your accountability is exceeded because of our actions. So it's not going to be something that you catch a lot of flack about. If you guys heard a different story, by all means. This already began in the pilot site for Portland. It's going pretty well. We got inundated the first, I was gone, McCord was there the first week. Did we get tons and tons and tons of email?
Well, we got slammed.
Yeah.
And I got sick, to Seattle, so.
And most of the ones are saying, yeah, well, can I opt out of this? And why'd you pick me? Of all
I
people?
know it better than others, obviously,
Yeah, it was,
What's happened, I didn't order these.
yeah, why'd you send these? I've never sold these, and there's reasons for all that, but it requires research into the individual PRUs. But, so we got a lot of flack. It dropped down to a lot less the second week and far fewer the third week. So it's evening out, and we're learning how to deal with stuff. And this presentation is one of the ways we're going to resolve some of those issues. This is all just this will apply to you guys when you get brought on board, but it'll just have different dates. When we set the date for the start of it, you'll have to have all the orders in by the day prior to that, and they will go as they always did. The next day they won't. This is just giving a little more information about the training sessions that this is what we did for Portland. We had 7 sessions over 4 days. We sent out emails, you can log into any one of them you wanted. They got to sit in on a net meeting where you didn't get to talk. It wasn't a question and answer, it was just a presentation of this slideshow. I'm not sure where this takes it. There are now, and it may, okay, here it goes. These are links for information that you can use that's going to help you. For instance, if you are out of whatever 20 stamp booklets and you want to know if there are some coming or if you should make an emergency order, this link will take you to it. Where is my order, or frequently asked questions, available stamps. It's all on the SDC site. And I think, can you get to this just by SDC? I'll have to find out for sure. I'll know more. Any questions, you can always call me. You guys have got my number. But there are links set up that you can track all the way through, whatever it is. Where is my order? If you put an order in for yourself, or if there's an order generated, this will tell you what's in the system for you on this one. These we're adding to daily as a result of all the emails that we're getting. And this tells you what is available at your SDCs. And that's the link that I showed you earlier, where you put in your 10-digit finance number and you can tell all about your office. There's the email you sent to when you have questions for us. Let's see what else is here. Again, I'm just learning this, other than watching it once, I'm just learning what's going on. This is where the presentation is. One of these links will take you there. But that's where the presentation we're looking at is. Basically, that's the end of that presentation. So any more questions about this for now?
Just a point of information, if you missed the stamp return cycle because for whatever reason, if you will email Jeanette Benson at the Stamp Distribution Center and tell her that, she will give you permission to get rid of those stamps. Or if you walk into an office where somebody's not done it and you take over the stock, and with this coming on board, there's thousands and thousands of dollars of old stock there. You just let her know she's doing them, and she says she wants it back before this goes online. You know, I know her, she used to be one of my clerks at Howe, and we've gone in and cleaned up a lot of stock.
There's a real good possibility that you're getting that special consideration because she used to be one of your clerks.
No, she's letting them all, no, she's doing it for everybody.
Well, you've got, in Kansas City, we've probably got 2,000 offices going online for her to do that,
Well,
special permission for 2,000
Well, we all
offices.
should have sent it back this week. Everybody should have had to send it back this week.
Well, I know, and as the process, she's geared up for that, she's staffed for that. But if everybody decides they want to do it when they
There
want
aren't that
to
many
do
of them out there, though. They're pretty funny.
Sell them as 1 cent stamps.
Yeah.
it, slap them on a package.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, Ed.
I'm not sure if you'd be able to answer this question, but I know that it's been a while since I've taken care of stamp stock, but I know that there are some that you can return and there's some you can't.
They have to be off sale or
Okay.
return.
Okay. And there's also redeemable and non-redeemable, or redeemed and non-redeemed stamps. Which ones are the ones you cannot? Because I know there's like, is it 9,100 or
3390.
3,390?
Well, 9100 is another number too. Yeah.
Because the stamp stock I'm getting ready to take over, they've got a lot of crap stamps. It's the only thing that I can, but I think it's like the ones that.
If they're in saleable condition, you can't return them. If they're not in saleable condition, then you paste them onto a piece of paper, and those are redeemed, and those are the ones you send back as a dollar value for the sheet. I think that's right. Now, I don't deal with that, but as I recall, that's what.
If you can't get a stock number for them, that's the only way you can send it back to 3390 or 9190.
But how do I transfer that?
It should be in your stock. It's either 3900 or 900.
It's in your stock somewhere.
Okay.
You should have a number on your inventory that tells you 9100 or 3390, one or the
But I
other.
can return those.
But yes, on the next return cycle.
Okay, thank you.
Think about this. We're going to be discussing a lot of other things. If things pop into your head over the next, if anything stays in your head after tonight's hospitality room, then bring it up again tomorrow. We'll discuss this as much as you want to. You guys have all got my number. Just call me. And as you move forward, whether it's when we've actually started replenishment or when you're dealing with anything to do with EPS, Ready Post, or Stamps Now, because we're still doing it all everywhere. Now we'll bring Mary and Mary up. Switch to the right.
Which one's which?
Well,
Oh, you're married.
I'm married. Well, I'm good. I thought on the way here, I was gonna say, we really know ourselves as Dumb and Dumber because we're always there, the last ones to leave at the district, and we always say, we're Dumb and Dumber to stay there this late. So anyway, that's what it comes from. She's Mary Nicholson. I'm Mary Lou.
Did you turn a microphone?
Yeah.
Can't hear you, so.
Thank you.
This is kind of.
Hello.
There you go.
Okay, I've never wore one of these, so
You'll do fine. But there's your little.
Oh, okay, let's start.
we went the other one. Does everybody know what day this is?
No, we're tired.
How about day 14, so it's timekeeping. So make sure all your timekeeping is good. That's why we get a lot of calls and stuff on that. This was actually with Larry going ahead of us. He doesn't realize, but he really led into our stuff really well. So
I knew that.
that works. Oh, thanks, Larry.
Good job, Larry.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Where's your little pointer? Oh, there it is. Okay. This happens to be from Western Area County. So we're going to go through some stamp stock issues. And like I said, it's going to lead in directly what Larry was discussing. How many right now go into the Western Area Finance page, the log? Okay. There's a lot of information there, and you should be going in there every week at least. You know, you don't have to do it every day, but at least once a week I would suggest that you go in and look at it. And if you look on this particular one, well, okay, Mary, go to the top. Okay. Okay, we've hidden the name so you can't see. Okay, Larry, this isn't working very good.
Well.
Help her out, Larry.
We have hidden this. So if you go into Western Area, you can actually drop down and pick your office so you can look at the site and see it. And this is, we've hidden the name so you can't tell who this is. But it has the results of a lot of things in their office. How much stock they have in their office, any stock in transit, any 247, 647, which are overages and shortages. So it has a lot of information on it. So in this particular one, they have a floor stock overage. Did everybody see that? Did you see the overage there? So they have an overage of $4,822 from their floor stock. And when they talked to me about it, I said, now how can your office have an overage there? And they said, oh no, it's real overage. Our unit's fine, our floor stock's great, and everything. We really have this overage. I said, okay. We looked at AICs, couldn't find anything, nothing in 247, 647. I said, you think customers gave you that much money extra? And they said, well, I don't know. I said, well, I kind of doubt it. So they sent their count sheets, and we looked at their count sheets to see what was on them that could possibly have affected this. She said, no, they're all good and they're fine. So I went into EDW, which you can do this too. And there's a place to go into EDW, and here's the actual link. If you go into accounting, and then shared services, SAFERS, segmented inventory, and physical counts. And you can do this at any office that's on pause. It doesn't have to be your own. If you have access to EDW, you can put in their finance number and unit ID and actually look at the physical counts. So this, we shortened this version so you can see it on screen, but basically it shows the results of an audit, okay? So when you're looking at this, and we resorted it, cut out a few columns, we did one, but basically you can see the items and the item numbers, and you can see this is the expected quantity, this is what they counted, and there's the differences, and here's the differences by the dollar value. Now, you can see this is $3,800. There was another audit, but we only used one, okay? So basically, they had an overage of $3,800 on this one audit. And when you go into EDW and you pull one up, one thing you have to remember is that on the side, and it's kind of weird because you're looking at it and think, what the heck? But it says basket. So you have to use the drop-down button to pick the basket. So one's gonna be a floor stock, one's gonna be a unit reserve audit, okay? So pick the basket till you get to the inventory you really wanna look at. So when we're looking at this, and you're saying, okay, so we've got this overage, and look here, we got this Sunshine Sky Bridge Priority Mail Stamps, right? And you can see that one of them has an overage, and one of them has a shortage, and they are the exact same item number, okay? Does anybody understand why that would be there? Why would we have that there? Larry kind of mentioned it. They didn't really sell the wrong stuff. What it is one is called saleable and one is non-saleable. So when they picked it and they were doing the inventory, they said, I don't have any non-saleable, so they put in a 0, but they left the saleable quantities because they had, you know, when they took stock back from a customer, they might have put it in the wrong item number as redeemed or saleable or non-saleable. And then when they sold, or then they had it back and they shipped it to the unit reserve, they might have used it from the wrong item number. So when they were doing the inventory, they forgot to say, I don't have any saleable either. I have said, you know, I didn't have any, but I said, I didn't even look at that one. So it showed they still had 280 of them, of the stamps. And they didn't really, they had none, but they had sent stock back to the SD stand in Kansas City, and they took it from their stock to the unit, and they sent it out of their office. So she was right, they sent it out, that was fine, I double checked that. But what they forgot to do is when they were doing their inventories to put a 0 value for both the saleable and the non-saleable. So this showed, guess what? You still have stock in your office, and they didn't. So that's why they ended up with an overage. And they did it for, as you can see, whoops, Mary did it again, there are several item numbers that are similar to that, which they've done. Now, they could have sold down the wrong one, they might have shipped it back from the other one, but when you see this, and if you actually saw their printout from PAWS, and then you look through it, you could actually see, oh, you still are saying you got 88 of those same stamps. Then you said that you didn't have any. No, I don't have any, but she left them on the inventory. So it generated an overage. So she counted today, and what do you think happened today? Short. So what did she have to do? She had to go in and do an inventory and say, I don't have that stamp. I actually have 0, and then that ended up with a net shortage, and then she accepts the audit, and then that, does she need to post it? Yeah. Once she accepts it, it posts it, and then we have one in 239, one in 639, right? So this is how important your inventory is. You can also have negative items on your inventory because you sold out the wrong one, just like Larry said. And that's what the green one is. Just like I think it might even be the exact same item number Larry used, I can't remember, but this one is they're both envelopes, okay? And they sold them, but they used the wrong item number. Now, we don't know if there's a little cheat sheet that they used to scan the envelopes, but if they use the one on the package, they'll get the right one. Okay? So that's what happened here. So.
That's an odd number too, so I bet they didn't scan anything.
There's no barcode for it.
Yeah,
Right.
there is no barcode on the Yeah.
They might have picked the wrong one on the paper with the cheat paperwork next to them. Okay? So any questions on that? How that can affect it? And so that's one of the issues that we've seen. Yep, then we'll go to stamp stock. Okay. In our district, and I think we have different districts here, but basically what we do is if they want to send items between one unit to another, they need to request permission from finance to transfer the stock. We're okay with them transferring, but we want to help track it. So if there's an issue later, we can help and pull up our emails and show what happens. So basically, they need to send an email to Mary and I and let us know the following information. We need the shipment number of the office that is shipping the stock. We need the 10-digit of the person, the office that is receiving it. We need the shipment number that's going to be generated out of PAWS or eMove. So the office that's shipping the stock has to first go in and actually do the shipment, and it shows the shipment number, and we want the date and the amount, and they send it to us. And from there, let's see, okay, Larry, go down on your screen. I want to go down to that, yeah, scroll down. So that one's, yeah, there you go. Okay, so then we send with them the actual procedures for an e-moves or a pause office. So they have to do the 17 and they have process the accountability first. So here's the instructions to shipping between the units. It's okay if it goes from a pause to an e-moves or from an e-moves to a pause. They just have to do the shipment first. They do have to complete a Form 17 so that whatever the stock is, the actual item number and the value is shipped, is recorded. And they have to document it on their, in e-moves office on their 3958, 59 actually, to show that I've shipped that stock out of my office and they have to send it to me. Now, if I was them, I would also want maybe something back from the office saying I received your stock, because it should go through the mail. But we do want to register it and document it. So we've actually put the F-101 reference procedures. They get all of this when they go through it.
Before they seal it, make sure they get the stock number, the shipment number written in the 17.
Right? And the shipment number goes on the Form 17 as well as the finance number and unit IDs for both units. And in e-moves, they're used to saying, I'm returning this stock to the SDC. They need to pick that they're returning it to another post office and enter their finance number and unit ID. And a lot of times that's where you end up with a problem, is they're not using the correct finance number and unit ID of that office.
Well, I would point out too, and I'm sure you're going to get to it, but when you do that, don't do it alone. Have somebody count what you're sending. Because if it comes up wrong, you're the one who's going to eat it. Always have somebody else count with you. And don't tell them what you did. It should be independent counts. Because if they're expecting to count 25, if they only get 24, they're going to count 25. So independent counts.
Yep, he's right. And the same when you do an audit on anything, don't count together, always count separate. That's just common sense items that you've got to follow to protect yourself. Okay, you want to go down, Mary? Oh, okay. And then also make sure you have your signatures. Get your signatures on it. Make sure you put the location and ID, like we talked about, the register number, and then you need a witness signature, like Larry talked about, and then your dollar value. And this is one of the saddest parts that I have to mention. When people return stock and they're sending it back to Kansas City, it's unreal how many errors we still get. You wouldn't think that they would, you think, okay, it's going to be right, I'm going to, have that, I have a witness, but I'll get calls after the fact of people, guess what, looked at my stock and it's gone, and it's still in my inventory. So they've shipped out more stock than they thought, and it's gone. And it goes to Kansas City, so once it leaves your hands, we're relying on another person to come and find that stock. And hopefully they will. They have 2 or 3 witnesses verifying it, but if they don't, it's going to be you have to justify it, what happened to that stock. So always be very careful. And if most of you in here are pause offices, don't ship that stock out of your office until you've gone through pause and you shipped it out and you generate the 17. Okay? Now you'd think, okay, yeah, people have done that. I mean, they shipped it out with a manual Form 17. Go do it in pause first. Always do it in pause and look and make sure. And whatever you put in that box, then that value of that 17 goes there. Don't add two totals together in one box. It's one box, one total per box, okay? So whatever you can fit in there. Make it easy for them to just find it. And now we're going to stock in transit. Okay. Don't look. Okay, so this is, on your snapshot from Western area, one of the real cool things that they put on here is their stock in transit detail. So if you've ordered stock from Kansas City and you can go look in here and see, oh, there's my shipment number, the business date they shipped it, how many days it's there, and there it is in transit. So you know, when you're looking at any office, or if you have an APO, you're an APO and you're looking at your RMPO, you can look on this and see if there's stock in transit and they need to pick it up. So in this case, they need to pick up that stock. And you can see this top one is 15 days old. So what happens after 15 days? What happens on 16th day? It gets expensed to that office in, what did I see? 647, because it's a shortage, right? They didn't pick, actually, did I say that right? Anybody gonna correct me? If they didn't pick it up, are they gonna get a shortage or an overage? Okay, and how do you know it's a shortage?
Oh, it's in, got it, why, I just look on the thing, it's in the 647, isn't it? Yeah.
But how would, if you were thinking about it, and you say, okay, is this gonna be a 247 or a 647? How are you gonna know what it is? If you count your stock, you should have, and you didn't pick it up, you're gonna have an overage because you have that stock there. So that means you know this is gonna be expensed in 647. Okay, so stop and think, if I'm doing an audit, and which one is it gonna be? Well, if I have more stock than what I've got on my inventory, it's gonna be 247, they're gonna issue me a 647. So after the fact, let's say that you see this, you've been on vacation and you come back, should you go ahead and pick that stock up? Even after it's expensed? Yes, and why? Why would you do that? Right, it will make a 247, but you have a very good paper trail then.
Right.
I picked it up. You could do it another way, couldn't you? Just do a floor stock audit or a unit audit, put it in trust and everything, but the best way is to pick it up. Unless you're maybe at the crunch of the end of a fiscal year, would be my only time. So if you think that if you ship stock out of your office, it might show up on this too?
If they don't pick it up on the other end, sure will.
Right. So that's another thing, when you ship something out, and we have that a lot of times, go look in here and see if your stock that you've shipped out is actually getting picked up. So you can see the importance of why you would go look at this, and that's just one area of stamp stock. Another thing that there's been some glitches sometimes with the seed program where maybe got shipped to the wrong finance number, and then you're getting an expense for a stock that you didn't get. So then you need to make a phone call and see, right, Larry?
That's correct.
Yeah. And wasn't there something too with some May 1st shipments? Just here lately.
What were you saying about that? I don't recall hearing that.
Okay,
I
there.
was on vacation for 10 days, so.
Oh.
Oh,
I had to put that in there, sorry.
well, by the way.
The May 1st, if you got an expense that's sitting here from May 1st, and they do, and it's $184, there was an issue with that shipment from Kansas City, and it did not go out. And so I contacted Jeanette Benson, and it was in the mail. She said, we're putting it in the mail. So I think there was an issue. So, and you know, if it's one or two offices, you may think, oh, it's just my office, but it actually affected about 20 in our district or so. So that's a good thing. And as far as Jeanette returning stamp stock from our district, I don't know where you're from. Mid-America? Okay. In Central Plains, she's really good about helping us. If an office can't return something, then we email her from the district and ask for it, and she'll usually give us a one-time authorization, but it has to be off sale. She will not take excess stamp unless it was really some exorbitant amount that they got in here. Okay?
Like when they did those double shipments.
Yeah.
Yes,
They did
the double shipments,
Yeah,
yes.
they took them back.
Yeah. There's one thing yet on this that we want to talk about yet, and you can see this shows what your stock on hand should be. See that? And that's what they have, and there's what they're allowed. So do they have any excess stamp stock for the quarter? No. But if you do have excess, or you're needing to put in an order through Seed, you need to go look and see what is my stock limit right now, because this is updated almost daily. You can see this is the 15th. So it's updated all the time. Go look and see what your stock level is. And the same thing for if you are in charge of the little office, to look what theirs is before they do the order through EY2. Okay? Any questions on that? And then if you do have a question about stock in transit, this is another EDW link that we use all the time, and to investigate stock differences. So that's just another tool that's there. Okay, we couldn't go on without saying something about 247-647. We left the name on this one, North Topeka, and we did that for a reason, because yay, they're doing a good job. So basically, you can see this one, the top one carried over from a prior fiscal year 12. So they made the comment, so there's nothing to do. They can't do anything. It was last year. That's great. They had a money order shortage right there for 101. They have to do an 800B for a money order shortage. They must have done that because down here on April 20th, they got the offset. The only thing they haven't done with this one is gone in and completed the log entry to say, I got my offset, okay? So they just need to do that. So the green means that it's offset to another thing, and they just need to click it that it's offset. Then they have a banking differences for $3,500. Now, I don't know why.
I do.
Oh, okay. You want to say why?
Really? Okay, it was the AMP, and when they switched banks, they switched the flag early.
Oh.
So one bank got all the credit but no money, and the other bank got all the money and no credit. So
Wow.
they kind of did these
Okay,
adjustments on the 2nd and the 4th during that transition.
Okay, does everybody understand that everybody know what AMPs are? Yes? No? Everybody does?
We had to change the banking.
Okay, tell them what AMP is.
I don't know.
Yes, you do.
AMP?
It's where the plants are closing or the processing center is closing, and so the mail's being moved to another place. So for an example, our Topeka office, the plant closed and the mail went to Kansas City. So everything that changed with the mail flow had to be rerouted and changed, right? The mail's now not going to stop in Topeka. It's going to be picked up, goes directly to Kansas City to be canceled and processed. Well, what happened is our bank deposits for the Topeka area couldn't be processed in Topeka. They went directly to Kansas City. So the bank had to be switched from a Kansas bank to a Mid-America bank. And so during that, they didn't flip the flags correctly in the program in the back. So what happened is we ended up with a shortage. They're saying, our bank didn't get the money, but Kansas City's, Mid-America's bank got the money. So then it was like, okay, here it is. So the unit got credit, a shortage, and then an overage on the other place. So anyway, so this one is real good. So they net to $38, and that's because of that prior year. So yay.
When they review this, they want it gray or green?
When
you review your 247-647 log, you either need a comment or you need an offset, so the background is either gray or green. That means that you're aware of it, everybody knows that you're aware of it, and you're working on it to get it corrected. For example, this money order issue that started in January, they put comments in there that they knew what it was, that they were pursuing an adjustment, and they had it resolved for a ticket. So we knew that they were working on it. Money order issues take months. Just to warn you, money order corrections take months. Obviously, it went from January 8th till the end of April before they got corrected. So as long as it's green, we know that you're aware of it and you've done the proper paperwork to get the adjustments done.
Where's the $1.15?
That they never do the fee.
They only do the dollar amount of the money orders. They never adjust for fees.
Yeah. It's just one of the things that's not worth the time for the $1.50.
So as you're reviewing these and you put your comments in or your offsets, as long as it is in a white background, you're okay. And they generally check these once a month by the Western area and send out a report. You've got 6 items and only 3 have been entered any comments or offsets. So when you see those reports, that's what they're talking about. They're just counting the numbers of them that have a white background that they don't think that you're aware of, that they want you to be aware of and potentially correct. Okay?
How many of you think that they're all as good? what happens is in a PAWS office particularly, you transfer money between cash drawers, right? To start a new person and that, you need to go into this log and update that every time. And that's a cash transfer of code 11. But you'll see a whole bunch of them back for $100 and something, but they haven't gone into the log, and it is required that they do that for SOX audits. Okay? Any other questions about that? And if you do have a money order, you do need to do, a money order that's off. Like we have some manual offices that have printed for more than 1,000. You need to do an 800B anytime you have a money order issue. Can money order issues happen in PAWS offices? Yeah, have.
System crashed.
Well,
Yeah.
system crash, yeah, what else? Yeah, where you put in 2 money orders at the same time, and it prints on the wrong one. So one will be reported and never get cashed ever in the system, right? So you need to go in and do one for that too. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to tax. Yeah, so since I have a little bit of time, if you don't have questions about stamp stock, anything on financial, we'll address that now. Anybody have any questions? Overages, shortages? No? Okay, well then I'll go on timekeeping. Like I said, today is day 14, so everything has to be done today, right? You need to authorize overtime, put in higher level, put in any leave. A lot of people might be, some people might have auto rings in there, okay? But if you don't put in leave, then what happens? You get paid work hours. So what needs to happen if you get paid work hours? Pay adjustment, and they're costly. How much do you think they cost each? Okay, I didn't hear it.
$75.
200.
Over $100.
Yeah, it's over $100. I think it's about $150. A just pay might be a little cheaper, but a manual 2240, they're estimating about $150 a piece. So you can imagine if you miss higher level for somebody, it's not going to be a lot of money to them, but to the post office, it really is a lot of money. So it's very important to do everything correctly and get it done.
Why do those pay adjustment cost?
Manually, it's the work hours. There's somebody actually looking at that, researching it up. You know, at the district office, in our district, in Central Plains, we get all the 2240 sent into the offices to the tax office. We have 2 tax offices. And we review them, make sure they're right, and we mail them on. Then they go to the Scanning and Imaging Center, they scan it in, then it goes to Egan. Egan looks at it and researches it, makes the adjustment. So there's a lot of people handling that, so it's going to be more costly. If you have a just pay and you're adjusting something for someone that's not a grievance, not a salary advance, not an EEO or whatever, you can actually enter the adjustment into a just pay, and it's cheaper, right? Because there's not the handling cost. However, what happens to that, you can only do adjustments for somebody that you directly supervise. And a lot of times somebody tries to put something in for grievance. Oh, it won't matter. But it asks you, are you their supervisor? Is this for a grievance settlement? If you answer yes, that I'm their supervisor, yes, it's a grievance, it won't let you go on. So you've got to make sure you're really doing what you need to, otherwise you got to use GATs. There's different ways to get them paid, and that's just the rules of it, how it works. Okay? What?
What are you gonna do with the tax office?
Okay, does everybody know taxes going away? Yeah. Huh? Well, I thought that about the county. In 2003, when they went away, we did county and district, and they said, we're going to help desk. And it was really bad in 2003 when they started. But they've come a long way, actually, from where they were with the county and help desk.
Your
Now they're-
payroll adjustments, your payroll, there are gonna be so many.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot now, but I imagine it will be worse. For a while.
They took a lot of our access away.
Okay, we're going to talk about that. Okay, so tax office is supposed to go to a help desk. So right now we have 3 tax clerks, 4 actually. One just got promoted to a plant supervisor job. And so we actually will have 3 tax for the whole Central Plains district. And then effective, it's supposed to be October 1st, they're going to attack shared service help desk. So that means that all your questions and stuff will go to a tax in Egan, a help desk. And they'll enter time, they'll do all the stuff we're supposed to do. Well, but they won't do a few things, so it'll still come to the district. But there's a lot of it that will go up there, and you'll have to take your phone calls through there. They don't have everything all lined up, what they're going to do exactly, and they've put in a request for any tax clerks that want to move to Egan, that they could move up there, but they will not pay relocation. So unless they really like the cold, there might not be that many going. So anyway, I don't know if it'll happen in October. I kind of think it'll be a little after that fact, but I don't know. So in lieu of that, one of the things that we also do, and it's for me mostly, there is tax access, and Cindy brought it up. So how many of you, you're all doing supervisor field access and tax, is that correct? Yep. And when you have somebody that comes into 204B, or for a day, you have to ask for tax access for them, right?
Yep.
Right. And how many have gotten those turned down? Yeah. Okay, because what happens, and this is a new SOX thing, just came out a few months ago. And what happens is when you go in and you request tax access, you can only ask for the tax access on the days that they're actually supervising. If they're not supervising, you cannot ask for it for an extended period of time. So if they're coming for one day, which happens all the time, right? Or they might fill in for a day, you can only ask for tax access for that one day.
That's never gonna work.
Yes.
I keep asking for my guy, who's pushing up in the next several months, and he's getting denied. What can I write in that box to get
Okay,
done?
thank you. Good question. So she says, well, okay, now I really am going to be gone for a month, let's just say a month, and she's going to be out doing something. She's not going to be in there, in that office. So she has to go in and do it as a detail, right? You have to pick a detail and end date, and don't pick more than 180 days. I like to pick about 9, if you think they're only going to be there a month, don't ask for 2. Do what you really think they're going to be there, needed to be there. If it's a day, just do a day. Don't make it up. And then you've got to put the full position title that they're detailed to. Don't abbreviate it, because if you do, headquarters won't approve it. So type out the whole title of what they're detailed to. Okay? Supervisor customer service. That's wonderful. And you can put at which office. You can put that you have to put that a Form 1723 is on file, and you should put the dates are inclusive. So in other words, those people that try to sneak it in for, I'm going to ask for a month, but I only need them, a day here, a day there. If you're putting inclusive, that's telling us that, hey, I know they're going to work that whole time, okay? As that, and then you request it. Yes.
How much is that person who's got that new job now? Probably like at least a dozen, right? Who's going to be approving these every day?
Okay, first of all, when you submit let's say you put the request in for a day or a month or whatever, that they're really going to be in, and don't falsify it, because anybody can go look at tax and say, oh my gosh, they've only been in higher level a day here or there, and they asked for a whole month. So we're going to know,
What's the purpose?
SOX. It's a SOX audit. It's a requirement by them. It's a security issue. So basically, it's saying that they can do timekeeping while they're in a supervisor position. They can do that.
So how immediate are we going to get the approvals?
When you submit the request, it goes to your manager, and then your manager comes to tax, which is me, and then after I approve it, it goes to headquarters. So even though I might approve it because I think, they've done everything, headquarters looks at it and says, they abbreviated that name. Nope. So guess what? It's not going to go through.
Wow. See, now,
Why? So he's a smart company.
My question is, and this is where we have a little problem, is that I'm showing this. So I have my finance number, but because our CCAs are under different finance numbers, we have to have access to all of Shawnee Mission, and that's where the
It's okay.
problem is. Okay, now then, we have another thing too. I also have to ask permission, that's where I have a problem is, to Kansas City, Missouri plant, because all of our maintenance people are under the Kansas City plant finance number, but we're responsible for their time. So how do I write all that in there for this poor guy?
Okay, and that's really, I know you're thinking that's bad, but that's really not bad. You've already put the stuff I said, the full position title, Form 1723, dates are inclusive, need access to these finance number, all of Shawnee Mission, I don't know your
Just put all of
district.
Shawnee Mission?
All Shawnee Mission finance numbers, because they have it probably built already that they can just pick Shawnee Mission and this plan at Kansas City, and then whatever else you
And do we
said.
need to put the reason is, no, okay.
They probably know you
Well,
and know why.
they've kicked it back, and I can't get this guy access, we tried everything.
Who's kicked it back?
You know what, I think.
Because it tells you right on there if it's headquarters or if it's,
You didn't even get that far, so I gotta
Okay.
make a call to our local.
okay, but they've,
Actually, he's put it
they've actually, there's PowerPoints and stuff, and I think we've, yours went, I think we got some of that on screen where we can show it.
Pretty soon you'll need
Um,
to do all that.
Go down below for a minute, Mary, I think it's down below, I think we might have reprinted it, or did we not? Okay, sorry, we didn't put it in there. No, it's the one where we put the information, it's probably on the tax website. But if you go look at the tax website, and you go to, should be under one of these, you go to tax and then go to the coordinator page, okay? And then up on the coordinator page, it's gonna be in one of these, accesses. You see it down there, Mary? What?
Lower left.
Your other left. There you go.
There'll be one there, and then there was a Word document too. But if you go look at the PowerPoint presentations, it has the tax access in there, and it talks about this, okay? But if you don't abbreviate, don't put OIC. If you're on an OIC detail, don't abbreviate supervisor, type it all out.
That's what we probably did.
Yeah,
Customer service on
It
that.
seems like a simple question, but why did, I've got a 12-4 week. He fills in for me on my non-scheduled day every week. Every Monday, I'm off. And
Okay.
if I'm filling in at another station, I can find out at 4 o'clock in the morning that I'm gonna be needed at another station. I've gotta go. I've already got access to the other station,
right.
because I've got
The whole
citywide
district.
access.
Yeah.
So I'm going, I'm not gonna be able to give him access for that day, Because he's not gonna know at 4 o'clock in the morning that he can fill in for me.
Okay, that's not totally true. If you had it worded right on your request and you put it in, let's say you're in Central Plains District, I don't know where you're from, but if you go in and you put in the request, okay, in that morning, let's say 4 in the morning, and you put it in and your manager approves it and tax approves it, goes to headquarters, it'll be back and done by noon or before noon.
Yeah, but
Well, he needs to be on there at 5 in the morning.
Well, I can't do 5 in the morning. It won't be there at 5. It takes, it's a,
Keep it done by the time.
yeah, you might have to, I don't know, do it from there.
Wait until she gets back, she's going, today, do it, she's all Monday, do it Tuesday or Wednesday.
Then I get yelled at my district manager.
I was gonna say, that doesn't work that good in our district, because they do want, Western area wants the reports as reliable as possible so they can make sound business decisions. So they want all the timekeeping errors and overtime authorized on a daily basis as much as possible. And so I understand what you're up against, and I've argued on telecons. Trust me, I'm a vocal person, very committed to that. And I've said, this is, we can't do this, because we have the same thing where people are gone on the days off, if they want somebody, and every weekend we have to. I don't like having to go through those tax accesses. I get a ton of them. I don't, it's not that much fun to go through and say, okay, yeah, they have to have it, and, reject them and stuff. But the main thing is to put the detailed information there correctly, and then do it. Yes?
In regards to hers, if you're having to wait, you've got somebody opening supervisor that's filling in for her so that she can go somewhere else and do another job. you're waiting for them at noon. They can't do their job.
No.
They can't they can't do their morning
Can't do
job because they
anything.
don't have their tax facility, the tax access. That's where you run into a problem.
Okay.
Is there any way,
Or,
I know we're beating our head,
I
you
know,
know,
go ahead, that's
against
all
a
right.
brick wall, but they have to realize we still have to do our job out there. If they don't give us the access to do our job, then they can't come down on us every time we make one little mistake because we can't get that access. Don't expect us to have our report at 9 o'clock because we don't have that access.
And one thing too, are these people that are filling in lead clerks?
I have no idea in her situation.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, that are
If-
204Bs.
Okay, if you're a lead clerk, you can have lead clerk tax access now, but they can't correct clock reading errors, but they can pull any reports.
Calm down, please. Come on, over the other Mary, right?
Nicholson, I'm Mary Nicholson. Yeah.
I guess I thought the lead clerk were gonna have access to help, you know, do
Oh,
all the
yeah.
tax
That's
checking.
just what
They were
we
talking
do.
about that.
Patootie.
Okay.
No, they have access to pull reports, and that is it. They cannot correct anything, they can have lead clerk. And it's not on the detail, they can have it all the time, but they can't correct any errors.
And under our new contract,
Quiet, please.
and under the new contract with the APW, our clerk, 204Bs can only work for how long?
14 days.
If it's a clerk.
How many days?
14.
It has to be 14 days in order for the 14 and less than 90. If it's a vacancy, it's up, only up to what, 90 days?
90 days.
It's probably 90 days, because then, isn't that the same thing with, are clerks 120 days?
No, yeah, they are.
Oh, Batlanders, okay. I don't, yeah, they changed it, so.
I was just curious, will that go for a non-career acting supervisor as well?
A non-career,
Yeah, PSC being an acting supervisor.
PSCs, CCAs, and.
everything.
Okay.
Unless you have,
So they can have
in-
tax access?
no,
No.
if you have if you're a supervisor, okay, and you have supervisor stuff in your official job description from Human Resources, you can have tax access. But if you are not, and it's not on what your official job description, like a PSC, mail handler, clerk, whatever, you cannot have tax access unless you're on a detail.
Okay, but if you're
Postmaster.
a PSC that's detailed.
Postmasters are good, they have it in their detail to do time.
A PSC detailed to a supervisor position.
You can't.
Why?
Why not?
Yeah.
It's
Let's get the all rules.
still happening.
Yeah, but I thought there was a rule that came out and said they were not supposed to.
That's right. They're not supposed to.
We got a lot of rules. Okay, let's keep it down, one person talking.
Go ahead, finish your question.
One more part to that would be like a transportation specialist detailed to a supervisor position. Do they have to have the same kind of?
They can have a detail.
But it's gotta be for a,
I don't know what period of time for them,
okay,
but whatever, but
whatever EAS, so.
I agree, but just because somebody is an EAS person
Right.
doesn't mean they can have tax access. They can only have tax access if their official job description says they are to perform timekeeping duties, however, whatever. And that goes by headquarters. So in our district, we got a list, and everybody did, every district did. Here's some people that you violated and gave them some kind of access without a detail. Even if it was report access and they were an EAS employee, we had some on there. So we're supposed to go revoke that access.
Let me step in here real quick. First of all, we need to kind of move along because we're pushing our limits. But I know what the answer a lot of you people are doing, and you can't do it. Take all those post-it notes with your passwords off your keyboards. Do not let other people use your password. That's going to be your resolution a whole lot of the time, because I keep hearing it all the time. Don't let anybody else use your password.
The resolution in the plan is that the Port MDO now has to do 3 areas with this supervisor tell
That may be.
and reconcile everything in tax, because that's the only option you have left.
But you won't get fired for that. We need to kind of move on. Just-
I got an email just this last week about the PSCs, PCAs, and the mail handlers. Somebody had asked, we've got a push right now for getting 204Bs. We're supposed to try to find employees. Well, we have a couple CCAs we think would be good, so we asked the question. We were told absolutely not. PSCs, CCAs, and the mail handlers, MH, whatever they are. They said they cannot be in that role. Absolutely cannot. So that's the message that we got in Lincoln.
Okay, and that's a labor issue, not a tax issue, I don't think, because that's something, if there's labor contracts or whatever, and HR said you can't do till that person,
So then they shouldn't have any reason to get tax back.
no, they should not, because they can't.
Yeah, I haven't heard about that in Central Plains, but I have heard about it in Mid-America. So
Yeah.
maybe Central Plains doesn't have that.
I don't know. Okay, anyway, if you go to that tax coordinator page, there is training out there. So if you have somebody that is going to be supervising, that hasn't in the past, there's tax classes. There's fundamentals of timekeeping on it, and that's an 8-hour course. They could get, credit, they should, because we don't want to just assume they know it. This is people's pay. We want to get it paid correctly the first time. So you need to adhere to the rules. There's also some supervisor training on a training download link. So anybody that has questions about it, there's also a common frequently asked questions available in there too. So they're very good tools for you. And my last thing, I'll go real fast,
Okay?
and I can talk for hours probably,
Well,
but
you can talk fast.
I am also in charge of statistical programs. Lucky me, huh? And how many have received the talks for statistical programs? Oh, come on. We need all the hands up.
Please tell me all the rest of you are retired.
Yeah, I'm retired. I got it. I'm
You
retired. I
got
got
it, retired. Good. Okay. There's SOX issues, right? All the time. And headquarters keeps pushing more and more things that they have to be tested to be in SOX compliance. Well, statistical programs just joined that fun place to be. And so effective June 1st, they're going to start doing statistical programs audits out in the field to make sure that the mail is actually, the tests are conducted as they should be, that all the mail is included in the test and everything. So there was required stand-up talks for carriers, clerks, supervisors, some workload for you guys to do in that. And I know you didn't want to hear that, but there is a little bit to do. Not a lot, a little bit. And so basically,
This has to be on their bulletin board.
they have to post this on their bulletin board, your communications and stuff. So anytime there's an audit, there's going to be a statistical programs test, you need to post something on the time clock and in the area where they're going to be testing, so they don't release that mail or work it before the statistical programs test is completed, okay? And then there's also a checklist that you guys have to do. When we call you up on the phone, there's a piece of paper that you got to fill out and record the information of who called, and you give them the information so they know what time the person starts, what time they need to get there, and I'll hold on the mail. And if something changes, let's say you have them scheduled to come in at 3 in the morning, right? And for whatever reason, something happens and you say, gosh, I better bring them in at 2. You need to call the person back and say, we're starting at 2, so they can be there at 2 instead of 3, okay? So it's real important that the mail get tested and not worked before they get there. Otherwise, we'll be in violation.
Steve Jewell covered all of that.
Oh, good, Steve talked about it. Yay, Steve.
I have a
So,
question.
yes.
On that checklist you said that the site's supposed, who's supposed to send that check to the site?
It comes on, it should, I'm hoping it comes on your email. I don't know.
I'm telling you,
She's a gateway.
Okay. Okay.
They said it's supposed to come from headquarters, so I could have filled it, but I put it in A, but she didn't have it.
There was a zip file sent today to all of the
Just
DMs,
today.
and it was emailed out this afternoon. Again,
But she said
The
she's
last
in
couple
there.
of months, just today.
yeah, there's 6 files inside of this zip file. There's the one for your bulletin board, your 2 stand-ups for clerks and carriers, 2 SOPs, one for the clerk and one for the supervisor, and the checklist.
Did it
Those
come
are
from
the 6.
headquarters?
Yes,
Okay,
through
so
Western
then-
area to the DMs. So you should see it, and if you don't have our names, let us know.
Next
When-
report would be about what time? No, when we go out to do a review on it, they supposed to have a tip, they didn't have it.
Yeah, and the difference now is all the plants also have to get notified, and there's calls that have to be made and everything, and then when the audits are done, it's very important, there's a sheet that you guys have to also do, another sheet, and you tell what happened with the mail, and then you have to keep it on file for a year. You do.
We do.
You do.
We do.
Yes, you guys do. Yep, no, it's not for Otis. And if you read the stand-up talks, it tells you that you have to keep it for a year. Sorry, but that's the rule.
That's not good news, Mary. Why'd you do that?
It's
You're supposed to cheer us up.
Yeah, yay, yay, okay. Yep,
On the operational side, this affects the mailhandlers in Cullen, in East Dock, and West Dock out.
if it can affect any, in a location where they're throwing mail or they're getting ready to dispatch it, you know, if they're doing this, it depends where they're doing the test. There's two types of tests, either on-site at the station, post office, or at the plant. It's called an upstream test. If they can do it at an upstream test, they will, okay? And that means it's going to affect the mail handler, anybody that's doing like an old 30 case, could affect them, right? An outgoing case.
Well, it would, no, this is why I'm making the point is that the only thing that it could possibly ever affect would be a mail handler that is throwing off of a central line, per se, or a 110 belt, if there was something in that, but 90% of the time it's not that, because the statistical data that you're trying to gather is to tell us what our work hours and stuff are, how we're going to get paid, how we're going to get money for the postal service, and they usually goes down to the bottom line, which is a station, a zone. So it's either going to be DPS mail, the mail handlers are not 99.9% of the time, I can't be 100% sure, but 99.9% of the time, any of the functions that the mail handlers have are not going to be involved with it. So the problem I have with this, when we send something out like this and say, every supervisor, every person has to know, the mail handlers look at you and go,
Why?
why?
Yeah, but hold on. If they're trying to do it upstream, though, a mail handler could be caught with the transport, moving it from the DPS machine to the dock. If that's where they're doing the audit, he's caught up in it.
It's already got a tag on it, all they're gonna do is throw it out the truck.
No, they can't.
Well, if they do it upstream.
Because if it's like, we went out and tagged, like on the floor, we had a mailing go out in Omaha. And so for the test was for last night, right? And there's a 24-hour window, okay? So the test always starts at 10, let's say it started at 10 o'clock in the morning, it ends at 9:59 the next day. It's a 24-hour period. So any mail that's going to be going through that area for that place has to be tested in that 24-hour period. So if the mail handler is doing a dispatch and it comes through this stream, and they're over here grabbing that to get that dispatch, and it should be flagged, the mail's on hold. You know, they also need to be aware, don't take that sack and dispatch it, you know, and stuff. And that's how they would, in my opinion, be involved with it. So it goes through any stream, like he said. So, yeah. And you know, you guys don't realize there's a lot of things that statistical programs, and I know Steve talked about it, but basically it assigns the cost to the pieces of mail. How much does that cost to mail that first class? Are we getting a return on it? Are they using the right postage? Are those postage meters, are they real valid postage meters? Because guess what? All that data that we key in statistical programs, it'll go to the inspection service. So if they have mail that's metered and that meter's fake, they're going to catch it. They get a report. So it goes a lot of different places, and you don't realize all the things that it impacts, but it impacts a lot. So, okay, I'm done talking. Your
turn, Mary.
Yeah. Oh, I'm done.
Thank you very much. That wasn't particularly good news, but it was important news. Probably
It was
a
good
little bit on this. And unfortunately, SOX is not a convenient process, but it's not Mary's fault. So let's not blame Mary for that. Okay, speaking of Mary, we have a Mary gathering up here if you want to come. She's got the 50-50.
We like this, Mary.
Sorry for the delay on this stuff, but we got caucuses. Missouri has the same room as they did before, so go back to that. Rich, 6 o'clock again tonight?
Yeah, we'll be ready probably at 5:30, yeah. We'll be definitely ready by then.
Okay. So 5:30 to 4:23.
$152.50. And it's Larry's fault if you're not a winner.
Well, let me see. Number is. Well, oh, there it is. Okay. 117.
Yeah.
129.
Larry, buddy,
There you go.
I better check this out.
Where's Sue?
She's watching the other half of the money.
Okay, that's it. Tomorrow morning. Oh yeah. If anybody wants to talk to Cindy about tickets for tonight.
3 tickets left for tonight's ball game. Rob on one.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Good seeing you again. Tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning we're scheduled for your caucuses to start at 8. So if you need to caucus again, it's 8. Other than that, we've got a 9 o'clock start time. We do have quite a bit of business tomorrow. So does anybody want to start at like 8:30? I don't know how your caucuses are going. Do you need to caucus tomorrow morning? Everybody will need to caucus tomorrow as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll meet it here at 9 o'clock then. Rich says that if you're going to the ball game and you want to partake of the special Juan Macias meal treat tonight, meal will be ready at 5:30 in room 423. Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, be where you did last night? Why did you, well, they were back there, right where Cindy is.